Hello everyone, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu news analysis. Today is 25th August 2024 and today we have some important and relevant news articles and we will try to discuss them in a very detailed manner. And before discussing all these important articles, yesterday I have given to you one previous question. So that is with respect to HEMA Commission. Recently HEMA Commission was seen in news and HEMA Commission has already submitted its report to the Kerala Chief Minister, and this HEMA committee was appointed regarding the sexual exploitation and harassment of women in Malayalam film industry. And in fact this HEMA commission has made shocking revelations about the sexual exploitation and harassment of women in the Malayalam film industry. And in fact a lot of civil society organizations and in fact the public interest groups and also the High Court of state of Kerala have been demanding a stringent action against the sexual harassment and exploitation of women in the Malayalam film industry. So therefore the correct answer for this question is option C. And when you look into the explanation part of this, the Kerala government has formed Justice HEMA committee, right? So this committee was already formed by HEMA committee because we have discussed this in our previous class, and this HEMA committee was headed by retired Kerala High Court Judge Justice K. HEMA. So this committee was formed to investigate the sexual harassment and gender inequality in the Malayalam film industry, right? So this would be the correct explanation for this question. And today also we have another very important prelims practice question. So the question is carbon border adjustment mechanism. So we have discussed this carbon border adjustment mechanism so many times, right? So in our previous classes we have discussed this in a very detailed manner, and this carbon border adjustment mechanism is a plan to tax carbon intensive products such as iron, steel, cement, fertilizer, aluminium. So all these industries are considered as the emission intensive industries. And in fact this carbon border adjustment mechanism is proposed by which of the following agencies? UN Environment, European Union, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and World Trade Organization. So you just try to answer this question, and correct answer we will be providing you in tomorrow's class. And in fact it is a very simple and easy question, so try to answer this question. And the question, the first article that we are going to discuss, we are going to start this discussion is with Nicobar project. Now Nicobar project was very often in news. We have Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal, eastern part of India, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands, when we talk about this, so these are pristine islands. So right, so they are very well known for their pristine nature, and they are also fragile in nature, and they host a huge biodiversity also. And in terms of biodiversity, these islands are very important because through biodiversity conservation and protection we need to take care of the ecosystem and environmental conservation of that area. And Andaman and Nicobar Islands also host a lot of tribal groups, right? So these tribal people such as various tribal groups such as Shompens and Andamanis, Sentinellis and Jarevas. So all these are the tribal groups, or Onges also, even Onges or Onges. So these are major tribal groups, and these tribal groups used to live in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And I hope all of you knew about the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and their location in the Bay of Bengal. And these Andaman and Nicobar Islands are strategically very important for India. And in fact we have strategic command of tri-services in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And in Andaman Nicobar Islands they are very important because these islands we could see different tribal groups who are living in this area. Okay, so you very often heard about the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, right? So particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and the majority of most of the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, I cannot say that highest number of PVTGs, because highest number of PVTGs used to live in the state of Odisha, but Andaman and Nicobar Islands are also very well known about the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Now let's get into the context of this article. What is this Nicobar project that the union government has been planning, and how this Nicobar project is going to impact the tribal groups, particularly the PVTGs living in that particular area, and how it is going to affect the pristine and fragile nature of the Nicobar group of islands, and also how it is going to impact the biodiversity. We will discuss, and along with the way ahead also. The context is that the union government decided to develop a port and airport in the pristine Nicobar island, right? So Nicobar island, without any doubt, is a pristine island, but the union government decided to build a port in the island, and that will not disturb or displace any of the Shompen tribe, because the proposed project which is going to be built in the Nicobar island, there are fears that that particular project would displace the existing Shompen tribe who are living over the fringes of the project, right? So any of the Shompen and in fact these Shompen are one of the indigenous vulnerable tribal which is native to the Nicobar group of island, right? So we will talk about the Great Nicobar Development Project, right? So you can see the Nicobar island, the Great Nicobar Island, and in this is the area. Now when we talk about the Great Nicobar Island Development Project, so this particular development project actually it is promoted as with the name the Mega Infrastructure Project and a strategic master stroke by the Niti Ayog, right? So as I have already told you that Andaman Nicobar group of islands are strategically very important, but this Great Nicobar Island Development Project is proposed as a mega infrastructure development project, and in fact the project is very important and it is very critical because of different reasons when it comes to the defense, particularly because of China's growing involvement, interference. So this is the major reason, China's growing interference and influence in the Indian Ocean region, Bay of Bengal region. So in order to counter Chinese growing influence, it is very important, and to make sure that this Nicobar group of island is a logistic hub and a place of commerce, industry, and it is also attract a lot of tourists. So essentially it will become a hub of ecotourism, and industrial development would also takes place, a development of trade and commerce with the Southeast Asian countries, and that would also provide large scale employment opportunities for the people who are living in that area, and logistics development and defense development. So all these are different and very important areas to be focused, and this project essentially covers 16,610 hectares of the total land area, right? So because you can imagine 16,610 hectares is not a small land area, and it would lead to the large scale biodiversity loss and large scale loss of the animals also, and in fact it would also leads to the displacement of the existing Shompen tribe who are living in that particular area, displacement of Shompen tribe, and that is the cause of concern, because whenever the tribal people are being displaced, so there are no specific arrangements for the rehabilitation and resettlements of displaced tribals. And the other factor is that tribal people are very often highly vulnerable to such things. So therefore it is a matter of concern that how the union government would actually accommodate, how would resettle them, the displaced tribal people. And in fact it also aims to leverage the island's strategic location, because strategically Andaman and Nicobar Islands are very important, because they are very close to the Malacca Strait. I hope you knew about the Malacca Strait. So Malacca Strait is a strait which has been connecting the Andaman Sea with the South China Sea, and majority of China's energy shipping usually passes through this Malacca Strait. And in fact China has been facing Malacca dilemma, and in fact at the Malacca India actually has a strategic edge, because if India can actually block this Malacca Strait, and because of that reason it is said that China has been facing a Malacca dilemma. And in fact, this Great Nicobar developmental project will include developing number of other projects, such as the International Container Transshipment Terminal will be built as part of this Great Nicobar Island Development Project. Secondly, a greenfield international airport will also be constructed, a 2 greenfield cities will also be built, and a coastal mass rapid transport system, and even a free trade zone. So everything will be built, will be constructed in this area. However, so when we talk about the significance of this Great Nicobar Island Development Project, so we need to talk about the significant aspects. So Great Nicobar Island essentially located very close to the Malacca Strait, right? So it is located very close to the Malacca Strait, and in fact this Malacca Strait is the main waterway, and this waterway usually connects the Indian Ocean. I mean, in a larger sense, so we could say that it connects Indian Ocean with the Pacific Ocean, but specifically we could say that it connects Andaman Sea, which is very close to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, with the South China Sea, right? So the Great Nicobar Island is located very close to the Malacca Strait, and this Malacca Strait is considered as a main waterway because majority of energy shipping usually passes through the Malacca Strait, and it connects Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. And apart from that, the Great Nicobar Island Development Project actually aims to take the advantage of this strategic position. So it wanted to take the advantage of this strategic position that India is placed in, that Andaman Nicobar Islands actually enjoys, because this strategic position is very important for India to further enhance India's role in the regional and even global maritime economy. So that is a very crucial and very important for all these different reasons. And in fact, the creation of this Great Nicobar Island Development Project, or number of other projects which are being associated with this particular larger project, will help for the creation of large scale ecotourism opportunities, and that would also improve or strengthen the livelihoods of the people who are living in this Nicobar Island. And in fact, this will aid in the income generation process and even generation of livelihoods of the people who are living in that particular area. And similarly, the project would also help in the creation of affordable state-of-the-art facilities, particularly in the areas of healthcare, quality education, adequate air, sea and web infrastructure, right? So in all these areas, adequate infrastructure would be created. Adequate infrastructure in the sense that connectivity will be improved, and improving infrastructure and connectivity would reduces the logistic costs of that particular area. And because of its strategic position, there are number of industry which are ready to relocate to that particular area, and industrial growth and development will give aid to the gainful employment opportunities in that particular region. So all these things will essentially help improve the living standards and the livelihoods of the people in the Nicobar group of islands. And in fact, so it will also further strengthen the delivery of e-governance services for the people who are living in this island region. However, this particular project, as we have already discussed, will include an international container transshipment terminal, and this international container transshipment terminal, which can actually make Great Nicobar a significant player in the area of cargo transshipment. However, it is not free from the challenges. There are number of challenges which have to be faced. So when we talk about the challenges that have to be addressed, so nearly 1 million trees could be felled as part of the project, right? So around 1 million trees, right? So 1 million trees can be cut down, and it would lead to the loss of we can say that a huge loss of biodiversity in that particular area. So this is a cause of concern for us. And apart from that, it could also devastate the island's ecosystem, ecosystem is pristine, fragile, and ecosystem could be destroyed when trees are being felled, cut down. So of course it would also impact the pristine and fragile ecosystem of that area, and that includes the coral reef of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Nicobar megapod bird, and even the leatherback turtles also. And in fact, the proposed Nicobar project actually endanger the rights of the tribals, as I have already told you that the particularly vulnerable tribal groups are living in that island region. So therefore this particularly vulnerable tribal groups who are living in that region will be displaced, and that will also endanger the rights of the Shompen and Nicobaris tribal groups and who are living in these islands. And in fact it would also impact the Forest Rights Act of 2006, which actually holds the Shompen as the sole legally empowered authority to protect, preserve, regulate, and even manage tribal reserves in that Nicobar group of island. And in fact the proposed port under this project, which is an integral part of this particular project, is located in a seismically very active zone in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Remember, Andaman and Nicobar Islands is very close to the Pacific Ring of Fire, and we very well knew about the Pacific Ring of Fire because this Pacific Ring of Fire is seismically active, and majority of the volcanic eruptions and earthquakes in the world are originated in this Pacific Ring of Fire, because it is a very active and volatile zone, and this could experience permanent subsidence of around 15 feet during 2004 tsunami, because 2004 there was a tsunami that India and other countries in the Indian Ocean region have actually experienced. So constructing a port in a seismically active zone would actually raise concerns about the safety and viability of constructing such large scale infrastructure project in high risk and even the disaster prone areas. So these are the certain challenges that we are going to face. So however, it is very important that such projects need to come up with a comprehensive environmental impact assessment, and this comprehensive environmental impact assessment is very important to understand the damage that any such project could cause in the short term and the long term. So first, environmental impact assessment has to be done, and the suggestions and the feedback of all the stakeholders have to be taken into consideration, and there should be less displacement of Nicobaris and even the Andamanis and Shompen tribes who are living in that particular area, because so whenever these tribal people are being displaced, so there are less attempts or less measures from the government side to rehabilitate and resettle those vulnerable tribal people. So it is also a major cause of concern, and that has to be looked into. And we need to talk about the sensitive and fragile nature of the Nicobar group of island. So we need to ensure that the biodiversity is protected and ecotourism is promoted in that area, and the development should be pollution free, and it should also further promote conservation and development of the environment in that particular area. And next important article is about the left wing extremism, and left wing extremism is also very important article, because please understand, in general studies paper 3, left wing extremism is a topic which is actually mentioned in that paper 3, left wing extremism, right? Internal security topic. So in internal security, left wing extremism is very important. So in this context, we will understand about the left wing extremism. So in fact, Home Ministry actually looks after the prevention of left-wing extremism, or taking up measures against the left-wing extremism. And in fact, recently Union Home Minister Amit Shah emphasizes on a ruthless strategy which should be followed by the Union government against the left-wing extremism. And in fact, incentives for surrender of Naxalites. So Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Saturday said that the country would be free from the problem of left-wing extremism by March 2026. Generally, what is left-wing extremism? Left-wing extremism is a violent movement, and they use violence to overthrow the democratically elected government. And left-wing extremism very often fight against the government for the ruthless suppression of the rights of the tribal communities. So in the guise of protecting the rights of the tribals, so these LWE people would very often commit large scale violence, and that would even endanger the internal security of our nation. And in fact, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh already held that left-wing extremism is one of the biggest national security threat for India. However, successive governments have made significant significant success in terms of substantially reducing the attempts of left-wing extremism. And in fact, the left-wing extremist movement is very often influenced by the ideals of Mao, and they uses violence against the state and the security forces, and they operate out of thick jungles in Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, right? So there are places called Bastar and Dantewada. So these are very, very famous areas. You may have heard about these places because these are the areas which are very thick in jungles, and LWE is still prevalent in some parts of Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Jharkhand, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh areas. Okay, so we'll go in depth into this left-wing extremism problem in India. And when we talk about the origin of left-wing extremism, so the term Naxalism, because it is very often associated with other terms also. For example, left-wing extremism is also called as, they are also called as Maoists. Okay, so they are also called as Maoists, and they even called as Naxalites. Okay, so you may have heard about this Naxalites or Maoists, because LWE are also called as Maoists and Naxalites, and they actually derive its name. Naxalism is a name which is being derived from a village in the state of West Bengal. Okay, so there's a village in West Bengal which is Naxalbari, right? So somewhere here you could find Naxalbari. So it is a place in West Bengal state, Naxalbari, and from the Naxalbari this name Naxalism came into the existence. And in fact, in this Naxalbari area, it was originally originated as a rebellion against the local landlords. So they started a rebellion against the local landlords, and who bashed a peasant over the land dispute. So when these local landlords bashed or beaten up a peasant over the land dispute, so all other peasants have raised the banner of rebellion against the local landlords in the Naxalbari village of West Bengal. And once this rebellion started in the Naxalbari village, so this movement soon spread across the eastern India in the states like West Bengal, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Telangana, the present day Telangana, right? So it rapidly spreads across the eastern India because of the socialist ideas that people have, and students were influenced a lot because of these socialist ideas. And because of all these different reasons, the movement actually spread throughout the eastern India, and Charu Majumdar is considered as a key instrumental, he played an instrumental role in the spread of Naxalism or left-wing extremism across India, right? So he was Charu Majumdar. So he was the leader and who played a very important and instrumental role in the rapid spread of this Naxal movement across eastern India, specifically in the areas which are considered as less developed areas. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, the northern Andhra Pradesh is considered as poor, backward, and underdeveloped area. And similarly, in northern Andhra Pradesh, along with the northern Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh is considered as poor, underdeveloped. Odisha is also the same, and even the West Bengal is also considered as poor and underdeveloped region. Now we will understand the objective of it. What is the objective? The objective is that the left-wing extremism actually advocate the overthrow of the Indian government. So they wanted to overthrow the democratically elected Indian government through a violence or through an armed revolution. And in fact, they wanted to establish a communist state which is based on the Maoist principles, and this is their sole and only objective, right? So they wanted to overthrow the democratically elected government through an armed revolution, and they wanted to establish a communist state, and this communist state should be based on the Maoist principles. And what are the causes of left-wing extremism that we need to understand? So this is also very important. So when we talk about the causes of left-wing extremism, so Naxalism usually thrives in underdeveloped regions with a very high poverty rates. Now if you look at the states such as Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, no doubt they are mineral rich states. So despite mineral rich states, a widespread poverty, unemployment, illiteracy and malnutrition, lack of infrastructure, lack of connectivity, so all these problems are widely prevalent in the most of the eastern states, and this left-wing extremism is mostly concentrated in the eastern part of India. So however, there is a rapid decline in the left-wing extremism and violence committed by the Maoists, but it is still a concern, and the union government is actually charting out a comprehensive and a detailed plan, so that that particular plan will help to prevent the incidents of left-wing extremism, because violence in any area, in any region will not be good for the development of any region. It could keep people underdeveloped, it could keep people within poverty also. So in fact, tribal communities are highly vulnerable to the exploitation by the government, exploitation by the local landlords, exploitation by the money lenders. And even since these tribal areas are rich in mining, rich in mineral resources, even mining companies are also started exploiting the tribal people who are living in these tribal areas. And Naxalites very often position themselves as a group of people who are protecting the rights of the tribals who are living in these mineral rich areas, because they very often pretend themselves as a protectors against the oppression and exploitation of money lender, mining companies, and even the landlords, and per se even the government also, because they very often portray themselves that they are protecting the tribals and the tribal rights from the government and the government machinery, especially the police and the civil servants. And that is the reason why there's a strong support for these Naxalites from the tribals. And in fact, the Naxal cadres are actually filled by the tribal people themselves. So therefore, Dalits who actually face social and economic marginalization, so may find Naxalism more and more appealing for them, and in fact, as it challenges the existing caste hierarchy as well. So don't forget that, as I have already told you, that in these tribal areas there is a widespread poverty that is being prevalent, and there is also a lot of illiteracy. So illiteracy is another major problem which is also prevalent, and malnutrition and poor health care, education facilities is another major challenge, because they cannot take medical emergencies, they cannot take any individual immediately to the nearby hospital. It takes a lot of time for them to reach to the nearest hospital. So there are no medical facilities, and apart from medical facilities there is also no education and no connectivity and no proper infrastructure in these areas. So all these things have been keeping them remain under the poverty, and they are suffering a lot because of all these problems and the government's reluctance to even provide basic amenities and basic infrastructure for the people who are living in these tribal areas. So however, there's a lot of potential. Okay, so there's a lot of potential if government actually focuses on these areas. So in fact, tribals themselves would stop supporting the left-wing extremism, right? So there's a problem, and there is also a developmental deficit, and that has to be addressed. So you can clearly see the developmental deficit that is visible. Okay, so developmental deficit is clearly visible in this place. However, the government has already taken number of initiatives against the Naxalism or Naxal movement. So these are initiatives such as National Policy and Action Plan to Address the Left-Wing Extremism, LWE of 2015. And government has also launched Project Samadhan, and Aspirational Districts program is also launched by the government. So all these programs are essentially aimed at making the regions which are vulnerable to the left-wing extremism free of LWE. And in fact, the government has also launched road connectivity project for the LWE affected areas. So under a program called RCP LWE, so that is road connectivity project. And in fact, this road connectivity project for the left-wing extremist affected areas essentially aimed at improving the road connectivity in the left-wing extremist affected areas or affected states. And apart from that, there is a need for security related expenditure also. Security related expenditure scheme was also launched in 10 left-wing extremism affected states for the security related expenditure, so that the security forces could be adequately prepared to deal with the problem of left-wing extremism in case of its wide spread prevalence. And in fact, it also relates to training, operational needs of the security forces, and even providing ex gratia payment for the family and for the civilians who are affected directly by the left-wing extremism, affected in the sense either killed or injured by the left-wing extremism and LWE based violence, and rehabilitation of surrender of LWE cadres, community policing, village defense committees, and publicity materials. So all these things can be part of the defense related expenditure program, right? So what is the status of left-wing extremism as of now in India? So remember, as I've already told you, that left-wing extremism is on decline in recent times. So the year 2022 actually witnessed the lowest number of the incidents of violence, right? So the number of measures that the government has been already undertaken has been giving positive results. So it has been giving positive results. So therefore the year 2022 witnessed the lowest number of incidents of violence, deaths of Naxal hit areas in the last 4 decades. And apart from that, the number of deaths for the security forces and even civilians in the LWE violence has reduced by 90% in the year 2022. So compared to as high as as compared to 2010, because 98 such deaths took place of security forces in the year 2022 compared to 1005 deaths in the year 2010. So such a huge difference in terms of deaths. However, whatever measures that the government has been taking, so those measures have been giving positive results, and it is in fact a welcome thing from the government side. And the objective of making the country LWE free by 2026 will also be achieved very soon if government goes on that same developmental path, providing opportunities for the people who are living in those tribal areas. And next important article is HEMA Commission report. And remember, this HEMA Commission report we have already discussed in our previous session in a very detailed manner, and now also there is an article which is given in the Hindu newspaper, and we will try to cover this HEMA committee report in a very detailed manner. So when we talk about this HEMA committee report, so there are number of issues which were widely prevalent in the Malayalam film industry. Now Malayalam film industry is a film industry in the state of Kerala, right? So Malayalam film industry is a movie industry in the state of Kerala, and there are number of issues which are widely prevalent in the state of Kerala. And in fact, the HEMA committee report on a host of issues, there are number of issues which specifically talks about the number of problems that the women have actually suffered. So a host of issues in the Malayalam film industry, so particularly those faced by women. And in fact, the HEMA committee actually released its report to the public, or the report was made public nearly 5 years after it was submitted to the Kerala government. Now In fact, this report was submitted way back in the year 2019 itself, right? So the committee was appointed way back, and committee has also submitted its report way back. But the problem is that the Hema committee itself decided that this report should not be made public, because it actually involves a lot of sensitive privacy related aspects. So therefore this report should not be easily made public. And the Kerala government also had a same locus standi on this Hema committee report, that this report should not be made public. But recently an RTA application is filed, and the State Information Commission has decided that this report should be made public. And in fact the State High Court, Kerala High Court, because it's sensitive nature, sensitive in the sense that it deals with the sexual harassment of women in the Malayalam film industry, and how women are being exploited in Malayalam film industry. So therefore if such things would be made public, there will be a lot of public outrage, public outcry, and even there's a demand from the public that there is a need to reform the Malayalam film industry, and that would ultimately help in better working conditions for the women in the Malayalam film industry. And this report actually names of witnesses and even the accused, and in fact it has shaken the entire industry of the state of Kerala, not just the Malayalam film industry but the entire Indian film industry, because it has made shocking revelations about the women, such as sexual exploitation and illegal ban on women, so who not acted as per the wishes of most influential individuals, and lack of written contracts between the actors and the directors and the producers. This is another major problem, and inhuman working conditions, and even the absence of basic amenities on film sets for women, and other issues. So there are a number of issues which are comprehensively covered by the Hema Commission in its report, right? So when was this Hema committee was constituted? And in fact a prominent woman actor, so a Malayalam woman actor, she was abducted or kidnapped, and once she was kidnapped at that point of time, so this was happened way back, so this was happened in the year 2017, and a Malayalam film actor was abducted, and then she was sexually assaulted by a group of men inside a moving vehicle in the city of Kochi in Kerala. And in fact the survivor, once she escaped from this ordeal, filed a case in the very next day. And this particular incident has actually triggered a chain reaction, and because of this incident a lot of people, civil society organizations and pressure groups started protesting for reforms for the protection and safety of women workers, women actors in the Malayalam film industry, and that has actually challenged the entrenched power centers of the Malayalam film industry. Now most of the power in the Malayalam film industry is in the hands of the most influential people, right? So and even led to the formation of the Women in Cinema Collective, or WCC, right? So it led to the formation of Women in Cinema Collective. So in response to demands from the Women in Cinema Collective, or its members, the Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan appointed, so Chief Minister, now the Kerala Chief Minister is Pinarayi Vijayan, and he actually appointed a committee, and this particular committee is headed by K. Hema. So K. Hema was a retired judge of the Kerala High Court, and in fact when people are protesting, and in fact this Women in Cinema Collective was formed, and Women in Cinema Collective demanded that there should be a proper inquiry, investigation, and a comprehensive a committee should be appointed. So this Hema Commission was appointed because of the demand from the Women in Cinema Collective, and this commission was actually formed to study issues such as sexual harassment, even gender inequality, which is widely prevalent in the Malayalam film industry. And Hema Committee in fact made shocking revelations on number of aspects, and in fact so the extent of a casting couch, which is a very a derogatory thing which is widely prevalent in Malayalam film industry, which is closely related to seeking sexual favors from the actors and the staff in the Malayalam film industry. So this is actually a practice which is demanding sexual favors from the aspiring actors in exchange of roles. So if you provide us the sexual favor, we will be providing you the roles for you. And even so they have long circulated in the film industry. So this is widely prevalent not just in this Kerala film industry or the Malayalam film industry, but casting couch is one of the most serious problem that the women actors in other film industries have also been facing. So right, but due to this committee, this casting couch issue has came into the light in the Malayalam film industry. And in fact there are a lot of witnesses who have made revelations about a lot of things which are prevalent in this Malayalam film industry. So they actually provided evidence, and this evidence includes audio clips, video clips, and even a screenshot of the WhatsApp messages also. And in fact the plight of women were forced to act alongside their abusers, right? So they either forced to, because if they don't agree, they'll not be paid money, and they will not be given roles. And because of that reason, out of compulsion, they used to act alongside their abusers. And in fact the lot of women who expressed the fear about the approaching police and even disclosing the incidents, even to close family members, fearing that there will be a repercussions in the future if they reveal things to the outside world, right? So because whenever someone revealed these things to the they made these things public, then they will be permanently banned from the industry, and there will be a lot of cyber attacks which specifically focuses on the whistleblower actors who actually blows the whistle and who actually made everything which is prevalent in Malayalam film industry public. And because of this particular reason, because of a lot of fear that is existing in the minds of the actors, they don't generally reveal things to the outside world. And in fact the Malayalam film industry is controlled by a powerful group of male producers, directors, and even actors. So they usually control the entire Malayalam film industry. And in fact the prominent and powerful film industry male members are considered as mafia, because they can, if they decided, they can actually ban anyone from the entire Malayalam film industry. And in this mafia, of course, women are at a disadvantaged position, because once they don't serve their once they don't serve the interests of the mafia, so of course they would be either banned from the industry, or they will not be given any roles, or they will be given less important roles. So because of fearing all these consequences, so they generally don't reveal things to the outside world, and that is further increasing the sexual harassment and exploitation of a woman in the Malayalam film industry. Okay, so in fact, so when we talk about this, right, so when we talk about this, Malayalam industry usually works on relatively lower budgets, even though its expanding markets in the past few years have led to a significant increase in the investments within the Malayalam film industry. And however, the committee has actually recommended this HEMA committee has recommended a number of measures, such as the enactment of a statute and even creation of a tribunal that would specifically address issues faced by women in cinema, and a significant barrier for women in the technical side of cinema where their numbers are notably low. And it also recommended reservations and scholarships for the women in the film schools. And state government's response is that the government would intervene decisively if anyone who testified before the committee came forward with a complaint against their alleged persecutors. This was the response of the state government. And state government has also said that the government will submit the entire committee report in a sealed cover, and sought the government's position on the action to be taken on this particular matter. So this was the response of the respective state government. So the next a very important which is actually this is mains practice question, and this mains practice question so will be based on a news article on the things that were happening in the between India and Sri Lanka, right? So India and Sri Lanka have been enjoying a very close and a very friendly ties with each other. However, the maritime boundary agreement or maritime boundary dispute is one of the major challenge between these two states, right? So fishermen of both countries, the issue has become a bone of contention, and in this context discuss the reasons for the fisherman issue and also suggest the ways to find a suitable solution to the problem. So you need to structure this first. The structure is, first you need to briefly introduce the fisherman issue and discuss the key reasons for the ongoing fisherman conflict, and you need to suggest some measures so which are needed to be taken to resolve the issue amicably. Now when we talk about this, first briefly introduce the India-Sri Lanka fisherman issue, and in fact both fishermen have been fishing in the Park Bay from several centuries. However, the issue only arose after the maritime agreement, so that was signed by India and Sri Lanka in the year 1974. So initially in the year 1974 border agreement, so it did not impact the fishing on either side of the border. However, the maritime boundary agreements were signed in the year 1974 and 1976, and India Sri Lanka have came to an agreement through these maritime boundary agreements. So the agreements were intended to define the international maritime boundary between the two countries, focusing on the island of Kachativu. So despite signing of this maritime boundary agreement, the fishermen communities of both countries continued their traditional fishing in the Park Bay area peacefully until this Elam War that was broke out in the year 1993. And this is how you need to briefly introduce this question, and then you just write the reasons for the fisherman issue. This 1974 agreement that was not properly demarcated, and 1976 agreement, so this is also another major problem because Tamil Nadu State Assembly was not consulted before going for this 1976 agreement, and bottom trawling is practiced, which has been depleting the fish populations in the Bay of Bengal and Park Strait. And there is also Tamil Nadu Marine Fishing Regulation 1983, which is also prevalent, so which mandates that Tamil Nadu fishermen need to fish 3 nautical miles beyond the Tamil Nadu coast, and even insufficient joint working group. This is another major problem, and that has been resulted in the bone of contention. However, a number of other measures also that can be taken to resolve this particular issue. Please pause the video and go through all these issues, and okay, so through these issues we could amicably settle this dispute between India and Sri Lanka, right? That's all in this lecture, and thank you so much.